Many Americans accustomed to celebrating Thanksgiving in their own homes found themselves homeless for the holiday this year. We're not just talking about victims of California's calamitous wildfires. There are also those in the Florida Panhandle, devastated last month by Hurricane Michael, who spent Thanksgiving wondering if and when help would be on the way. NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Simon Ostrovsky has our story.
How many plates you need?
For the Boucher family this year, this is what Thanksgiving looked like.
Yeah, I don't.
Or mom's cooking.
Dad's turkey's way better. Yeah, Dad's tastes way better. It was like
That's not disgusting at all.
The reason they didn't celebrate around the dining room table? They no longer have one. Turkey, cornbread dressing, sweet potatoes, everything you need for the perfect Thanksgiving except for the most important thing, a home. Like thousands of others in this area, the Bouchers lost everything in October in the most powerful storm to hit the Florida Panhandle in history, Hurricane Michael. Michael pounded the Gulf Shore with 155-mile-per-hour winds that laid waste to entire cities, doing billions of dollars worth of damage. At least 52 people across the U.S. Southeast were killed, and up to 20,000 more were left homeless. 6 weeks after the storm, James Boucher and his family are among the thousands of people county officials told us were still without adequate housing. They've been living in this shelter with over 100 others.
None of my children got hurt. Nobody got hurt. Yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
And do you think you're going to be able to find a place in the near future?
They want us to relocate. This is where we live. This is our home. There's homes out there that are just too expensive for us because in the area that it hit was all of the affordable homes for families, but there's no available units for us at all.
And therein lies the crux of the problem. FEMA has handed out over $91 million in housing assistance to hurricane survivors in Florida so far. That may sound like a lot, but with so much devastation, rentals here are in short supply, and those who don't want to leave the area because of jobs and schools are left with limited options: tents, shelters, or ideally FEMA trailers. But officials in Bay County, where the hardest-hit cities of Mexico Beach and Panama City are located, complain the Federal Emergency Management Agency has been slow to provide its residents with FEMA trailers.
People feel like FEMA doesn't help them. They estimate around 2,000 people have qualified for some sort of housing assistance. Right now, there's less than probably a dozen what we consider FEMA trailers in Bay County. They tell us they're going to ramp those numbers up to 25 daily. I'd love to see that. It's hard to believe at the rate they're going right now.
Although almost 1,700 people have been approved for trailers in the 5 worst-hit counties, FEMA has supplied just 40 in the month and a half since the hurricane. That means many Floridians are spending the holidays out in the elements. Michael Cannon weathered the hurricane in his mobile home. This is all that's left.
It's total devastation. 2 bedrooms are gone. The kitchen, the walls, I watched the walls ripple, like a rippling like this, as the floor was shaking. And like I said, that was scary.
He's been living in these 2 tents with his family ever since.
We're hoping to try to get a FEMA trailer. That's what it's a slow process of getting any answers, though. You're not really sure what you're eligible to get.
It's something we heard from many of the people we spoke with. They cite complicated, cumbersome bureaucracy and officials who they claim don't seem to be in much of a hurry.
Yeah, your FEMA registration number?
They explained to us that it's only been weeks since the disaster, but that's hard to explain to somebody who's homeless right now. There are thousands of people that don't have a home. They're either living with their friends or family or in some sort of housing. The FEMA trailer, the FEMA housing units are just not in our community yet for these people, and it's been very slow. As I've said, the bureaucracy is very impressive.
FEMA officials point out that surveying damage and assessing eligibility when over 98,000 have asked for help and information is a time-consuming process. They also told us there were other ways to house survivors besides the trailers. More than 18,000 have been approved for rental assistance, for example. Tammy Nichols was one of those approved.
Good morning, everybody. Now we're ready to start our day.
but she told us there's nowhere to spend the money with so much of the housing stock damaged. Instead, she's been living in this tent city with her disabled daughter.
Even though you have money and a check, there's not that many apartments. Even though they have this big long list, there's not that many. You know, you have children, you have disabled, you have specific needs.
One issue we've heard county officials bring up with us is that, you know, there's rental assistance, but there isn't necessarily places to rent from. There's no vacancies because so much of the housing stock has been destroyed.
We're keenly aware of the housing situation. That's been one of the issues or the challenges that we've faced here in the last few weeks. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. There are multiple approaches to this, rent and repair. There's also transitional sheltering assistance. There's also the travel trailers as part of the direct housing package. So it's a multi-pronged approach to providing housing to people in this area.
Everything is destroyed. So, this is home, but more importantly is we have our family and we're safe and we're starting over, and that's okay.
For those braving the elements this holiday weekend, help can't come soon enough.
Starting to get old now, you know. Want to get a roof over our head. It's been some cold nights. I would like to receive help, you know, just like anyone would.
Did you ever expect that 6 weeks later, by Thanksgiving, you'd still be out of home?
Never. I'm thankful we're all together. You have to hold your hat on something. I mean, that's what I'm thankful for. That's it.